300 nautical miles from land, the Neptune's promise waited with the patience of a creature born for the deep. Her crew moved through pre-dawn rituals, understanding the margin between success and catastrophe was vanishingly thin. Beside it rested Prometheus, a vessel designed to steal knowledge from realms where humans had no right to exist.
The expedition leader performed her final checks. In the deep ocean, there were no second chances.
Modern technology had narrowed the search to a single point on a vast, featureless plain 3,000 meters below.
The moment arrived.
The Pacific opened beneath them. The sphere achieved neutral buoyancy, then began to sink into the blue.
The first 100 meters passed through a cathedral of light, shifting from sky blue to lapis lazuli. Color began to bleed away, absorbed by the immense water column above them.
By 300 meters, the pilot activated the external lights. Their world became a 20-meter sphere of visibility.
Beyond their lights waited absolute darkness and the strange, eternal life of the deep.
1,000 meters. The pressure outside reached 100 atmospheres. The titanium hull sang softly with the stress.
The cold began to assert itself, a constant, just above freezing chill that seeped through the hull.
At 2,500 meters, the sonar painted the approaching seafloor, no longer an abstraction, but an actual surface. The pilot brought them to a hover, 5 meters above the bottom. The thrusters hummed, fighting subtle currents.
The search was tedious, demanding absolute concentration in the featureless expanse. Life here was
Midway through the second hour, the sonar painted something different. Angular shapes, geometric regularity.
there, half buried, they appeared. 4 iron chests, transformed by centuries of marine growth into something resembling reef rock.
Above, the mothership's deck sprang to life. The mechanical muscle prepared to retrieve what the abyss had held.
The most delicate phase began. Using the sub's manipulator arms, she worked a lifting strap beneath the first chest.
Every movement was deliberate, tested. The sediment clung with the tenacity of centuries. A cloud of abyssal mud erupted, blinding them. They waited in the murk, held in place by instruments and faith.
When the water cleared, the chest hung suspended, a dark artifact streaming sediment like blood. The process repeated. Hours passed. The cold deepened, and stiffness settled into their bones. But they continued.
She worked around the obstacle, creating just enough space. There would be no leaving anything behind.
From the darkness above descended the true lifting power, the mothership's armored cable and its massive snap shackle.
The operation required precision measured in centimeters. The first attempt failed.
On the third attempt, it seated properly. A firm tug confirmed the connection was secure.
The signal was sent to the surface. The load was secured. The primary lift could begin. Prometheus paced it for a time, then broke away, beginning its own faster ascent back to the world of light. Prometheus broke the surface into the late afternoon glare, having stolen its knowledge from the dark.
An hour later, Prometheus was secured in its cradle. The crew, a mix of young and middle-aged individuals.
The expedition leader went immediately to the recovery deck. The final act was still playing out far below.
The winch turned with patient, industrial rhythm. The basket climbed meter by meter through the crushing darkness.
The entire crew gathered, invested in this moment. Decades of experience whispered that nothing was
500 meters.
Emergency ballast blow. Hard right rudder.
Now began the work of revelation, the cleaning and stabilization of what the ocean had guarded for centuries.
Each chest yielded details, a stamped mark, decorative scrollwork, connections to their human origins. The screen revealed a chaos transformed by time. Clusters of coins, a bar of silver, all fused but gleaming with the promise of treasure. She understood now. They had recovered substantial value. But more than that, they had recovered pieces of history.
The team stood in a silent circle. There was nothing to say that the chests themselves did not communicate. They were sacred relics, embodying human endeavor, loss, and the stubborn refusal of objects to disappear. They were proof that the past could be recovered, that the deep ocean was not an impenetrable barrier.
The Neptune's promise rode the swells toward home. Her mission accomplished, carrying silent...
With the coming dawn, the chests were sealed in the ship's secure hold. The journey home...
The Neptune's promise set her course for land, her hull riding lighter with the weight of its recovered secrets.
The find kept giving. Historians connected the plate to a specific family, putting names to the tragedy of the Antigua Rose.
The treasure was no longer anonymous. It had belonged to someone, a man who had boarded a ship and never returned.
She made a pilgrimage she felt compelled to make, to acknowledge the loss that made her discovery possible.
What's next? Will you go back for the main wreck?
Yeah. The public always wanted the next treasure hunt.
Wow, yeah.
But her perspective had deepened.
Yeah.
The main wreck is a grave. It deserves our respect more than our curiosity. Let it rest.
Her ship, the Neptune's Promise, was prepared for new missions. Not just salvage, but oceanographic research, habitat mapping.
She walked the deck alone, feeling the ghost of that triumphant night, the silence after the winch stopped.
She returned to the sea, but in a different role. The hunger for discovery remained, tempered by wisdom.
And then the penguin looks up at the captain and says, "I thought he was a marine biologist."
In her dreams, she returned to the quiet darkness. But there was no pressure, She watched the next descent, her heart with the crew inside the sphere, her mind already picturing the world they would see.
The ritual was eternal, the leaving of the world of light for the world of dark, an act of faith in technology and courage.
The true treasure of the deep was not below them, but all around. Life, in its most resilient and...
You won't believe what we saw down there. It was incredible.
I knew you could do it.
Here, drink this. You might be freezing.
These hands had pulled treasure from the abyss. Now, they steadied her as she watched the stars, content.
The abyss was above and below, an infinite mystery in both directions.
The Neptune's Promise had yielded its secret. The Antigua Rose had told its story.
The abyss yields its secrets only to those who listen patiently. Dawn always followed the deepest night. It was the ocean's oldest promise, and her most trusted truth.
The science began in earnest, cataloging, hypothesizing, questioning. The find was not an end, but a beginning. Their work was to observe, not just extract, to leave behind eyes that would continue the watch.
Her souvenirs were not for display. They were touchstones, reminders of two different kinds of depth, both yielding wonder. The bonds forged in the deep were unique. They required few words, for the shared experience was language enough. Home was not a place of inactivity. It was the calm bay between voyages, where the sea's lessons were digested.
The shelf was her personal museum, not of treasures, but of chapters. Each object a bookmark in a long story.
Life on land had its own currents. Some carried news, others carried honor.
Recognition was a surface phenomenon. Her work had always been about what lay beneath.
The years began to fold into one another, measured not by calendar pages, but by the sea's changing moods.
The future came to her door, eager for counsel. She gave it sparingly, knowing the best lessons are self-discovered.
I must have been your age when I first dove there. It felt like flying, honestly. Pure freedom.
This one started me thinking.
She passed on not tools, but inspiration. The spark was more important than the blueprint.
The solitude was not loneliness. It was the space required to hear the echoes of the deep within herself. In the deepest sleep, the boundary between herself and her life's work finally dissolved.